All right, welcome to part 3 of the Unit 1.2 review video. We are now going to cover little equations. And on problem number 1, they give us the formula I equals P times R times T. And they want us to solve for R. So I'm going to highlight the variable that they want me to solve for. That's the variable that I want to get by itself. So on every other problem, on this side of the equation, I'm going to get rid of every other variable that is not R. So we're multiplying P times R times T, and since they're all multiplied, I need to do the opposite of that, which is division. So I'm going to divide by P and T and leave R. And that causes P and T to cancel out, and then all that's left is R equals I over PT. And that's your answer for number 1. Okay, number 1 under the target practice, ask us to solve for H. Okay, so we need to get rid of everything that is with H, which in this case is B. B is being multiplied by H, so the opposite is dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by B. So what we have left is H equals A over B. All right. So, and that actually formula is for area equals base times height, the area formula for a rectangle. And in number 1 under the non-target practice, that's I equals PRT is interest equals principal times the rate of interest times time. So that's what those equations are. These are equations that we actually see often. Okay, in number 2, they're asking us to solve for P. So what I'm going to do is get rid of everything else. And remember, we have to add and subtract before we multiply and divide when solving. So first thing I need to do is I'm adding this 2b, so I need to get rid of it. So I'm going to subtract 2b from both sides. All right, well, this 2b, positive 2b and negative 2b creates a 0 pair. And then I'm left with s minus 2b on this side because they are not like terms. So I can't combine them, and then I bring down pH. Okay, now remember, I'm still trying to get P by itself, so I have to get rid of that H. And H is being multiplied by P, so I'm going to divide both sides by H. That becomes a 0 pair. So P equals S minus 2B over H. And that's your answer for number 2. All right, now they're asking us to solve for W. Okay, well, we need to get rid of everything that's not W and move it to the other side. So the first thing is we realize that it's 2 times W. So what we're going to eventually have to do is get rid of that 2 by dividing by 2. But then we're also having 2L plus 2W. So this 2L is technically being added. So we need to subtract 2L from both sides. Remember, because we have to add and subtract before we multiply and divide. That becomes a 0 pair. You're left with P minus 2L, because you can't combine those because they're not like terms, equals 2W. Okay, well, we need to now get rid of that 2, like I was mentioning, by dividing both sides by 2. Those 2's cancel, and you're left with W equals P minus 2L over 2. All right, number 3. It says the formula for Fahrenheit temperature in terms of degrees Celsius is Fahrenheit equals 9/5 Celsius plus 32. Solve for C. Okay, well, it's no different here. We need to get rid of our denominators. We need to clear our fractions. So my only fraction here, my least common denominator, is 5. So we need to multiply every part of our equation by 5. Well, there's no denominator underneath the f, so that becomes 5 times f. 5 divided by 5 becomes 1, so 9 times 1 is just 9. Bring down the c. And then 32 times 5 is 160. Okay, and remember, the whole goal is to get c by itself. So the first thing we have to do is get rid of this 160. So I'm going to subtract that from both sides. That becomes a 0 pair. 5f and 160 can't be combined. They're not like terms. So I write it as 5f minus 160. And then I bring down 9c. And then the last thing that I need to do is get rid of that 9. Well, the 9 is being multiplied by c, so I divide both sides by 9, and I get c equals, those cancel, 5f minus 160 over 9. All right, let's go over to the problem 3 under the target practice. The formula for the area of a triangle is area equals 1/2 base times height, where b represents the length of the base and h represents the height. Solve the formula for b. So we need to get b by itself, and we have to clear the fractions. Well, my least common denominator is 2 because it's the only one there. So I multiply both sides by 2. I end up with 2 times a equals, I cross out those 2, base times height. All right, so now the only thing with the b is that h, and it's being multiplied, so I'm going to divide by h. So the base equals 2 times the area divided by the height is my answer. All right, let's try the last 2 problems now. It says the cost to mail a letter in the United States is 46 cents for the first ounce and 29 cents for each additional ounce. Solve the equation c equals 46 plus 0.46 plus 0.29 times z minus 1 for z. Okay, well, the first thing that we need to do is get rid of the parentheses. So I'm going to distribute this 0.29, and when I do that, I should end up with c equals 0.46 plus 0.29 z, and then minus 0.29. Well, then I'm going to combine my like terms, the 0.46 and the minus 0.29, and I end up with c equals 0.17 plus 0.29 z. All right, well, now I need to get rid of this 0.17. So I'm going to subtract that from both sides. That's a 0 pair, and I end up with c minus 0.17 equals 0.29 z. So the last bit is to divide by 0.29. That gives me a 0 pair. And z equals c minus 0.17 divided by 0.29. So there is your answer for number 4 under the quiz part. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to problem 4 under the target practice. And they've given us the same formula that they gave us in problem 3. The formula for the area of a triangle is area equals 1/2 base times height, where b represents the length of the base and h represents the height. We'll solve the formula for b. Well, we already did that in problem 3, so I'm just going to bring that answer down. We already said that the base is equal to 2 times the area divided by the height. Well, it tells us if a triangle has an area of 192 millimeters squared and the height measures 12 millimeters squared, what is the measurement of the base? So all I'm going to do is bring down that same equation, and they tell us the area, that's A, is 192. And they tell us that the height, which is 8, is 12. So now I can plug that in my calculator, and I end up finding out that the base is 32 millimeters. Okay, I hope this review video was helpful. Good luck studying this weekend. Make sure that you have this done and ready to turn in at the beginning of class, and your target sheet. All right, I'll see y'all Monday. Enjoy your weekend.